So we're about to get started laying our flooring down. We scored a Craigslist deal on some 1/2-inch plywood, so that's what we're going to use. It's cabinet grade sanded on one side. These are panels that have been used for something. I guess they're defective panels, but they'll work fine for what we want. They've got a veneer on one side, but the other side is sanded cabinet grade plywood. So we're going to lay it down with the sanded side up, and then we'll go through after we get done laying all of it and stain it the color we want. I think it should turn out really good. We got 4x6 panels for $10 a sheet, which is, if you know anything about cabinet grade 1/2-inch plywood, that's about anywhere from a third to a quarter of what it would normally cost. We're going to have to beat the studs since we cut our seats out, cut the studs out. We're going to have to knock the studs out that's left in the floor as we go, but that shouldn't be a big deal. So we're going to get started laying on it, and then once we get it, we'll box out the wheel wells, and we should be able to get quite a bit. Turned out to be not that bad at all. We swept through, cut it to size, screwed it down. This is some real nice flooring. Like I said, we picked it up cheap, $10 for a 4x6 sheet. Worked out really well. We ended up, we were going to take the trim up around the fender wells, but it worked out where we could just put it on top of it. So that's what we did to leave the trim, and then we'll also spray foam around it to fill up any gaps or maybe an insulation there. Our next project is we've got to stain it. I might have to go through and clean it up where we've been walking on it, and there's a few paint marks and stuff we'll have to sand off, but we're gonna touch it up and stain it. For our colors, we went to a Home Depot that was about 70 miles from our house and found they had a stain that aged wood, and it showed that it turned pine an aged gray look, and that's what we were wanting, but we didn't pick it up the day we saw it. So we went back to Home Depot yesterday to get to our local Home Depot because it's closer to get that, and our local one didn't have it. So we got to looking, and they had what was called a worn navy, and on the can it showed that it was kind of a bluish gray color, which is kind of what we were going for. It's a gray, and blue's okay, so that's what we're gonna do. But we tried a couple of test samples. This one I burned with a torch first and then stained, and then this one's just stained. We're a little worried it may be too blue for us. We didn't really want that blue. We wanted some gray to it. And I'm afraid when we get it down on the floor, it's gonna be way too much blue, but we're gonna go ahead and do it and see what it looks like, and we may go back over it with a gray or something, kind of make our own color. But I think we'll just see what it looks like. We decided against the burnt. It's kind of splotchy looking, and we decided not to do it with the stain, so we're just going to stain it on top of it. A couple of things here worked out real well. At one point, the fuel pump in this had been replaced, I guess, because they had cut a hole in the floor. So we just cut a hole as well and went on top of it, and that's actually, we're going to duct our portable air conditioner. We're going to put a portable air conditioner in here, and we're going to be able to stand for it, and we'll duct it right out that hole for one of them. Then we'll have another one back in the bedroom. We'll have to drill that hole, but it was convenient that we already had the hole there. You can see stuff lined up pretty good there. Some of the wood had this red paint on it, marking paint or something, so I might sand it off, but it lined up pretty well. We'll get it sanded, cleaned up, and we'll start staining. Then once we stain, the floor will be pretty much done. We can start framing out and doing our framing on it. I think that's pretty much it for today. We did this over the course of 2 days because I had stuff to do, so we didn't work on it but about 1.5 hours yesterday. We worked on it about 2 hours today, so altogether it took us about 3.5 hours to do the floor. Not bad at all. Like I said, that's not including staining or anything, just putting it down, but it seems to have worked out pretty well, and we're happy with it. Today we're going to be cleaning the floors, sanding them, prepping them, getting ready for stain. It's got feet print where we walked all over it, so I'm going to be using isopropyl rubbing alcohol. to clean them. You gotta walk around barefooted so we don't get marks back on them. But we're just gonna scrub them, clean them real good with the alcohol. We're using alcohol because it doesn't leave behind any type of residue that'll make the stain fish eye or bubble or anything like that. It evaporates quick and it doesn't leave an oily finish. We'll clean it, sand it, and then we should be ready for staining. It's gonna be a very slow process, the prep and the stain, because we'll have to stain it, let it dry. I might have to come back, put another coat on it, let that dry, then we'll have to clear it, let it dry, and I'm gonna put at least 2 coats of clear, so we'll have to let that dry quick. So it'll probably take us all week to get these floors ready between letting them dry and the prep time and all that. But we're gonna get to cleaning these up here, get them cleaned up and ready to go. On the inside, Heather's been scraping all the decals off the outside. She's using a heat gun and scraper. It's taking the base decal off, and then we'll have to go back over it with the eraser wheel and some type of cleaner to clean the glue off. She's around to the back, got this side done. I believe she's got the other side done too, but there's still a lot of work left to get all this glue off. Even though the decal's off, there's still glue on there that's got to come off. The original plan was to just spot sand in places after we got it cleaned, but after I started sanding, the whole thing looked, you could see where I had sand and hadn't, so I decided to sand the whole thing. It looked so much better. So I've got a little bit more to do here finishing up. I started out with 80 grit sandpaper. It wasn't doing real good, so I switched to 60. It seems to be doing a lot better. And it's getting the marks out of it and bringing out the wood grain, so it should really have an effect on the final product. So we're gonna finish sanding here and get this done, and we'll be ready for stain. Stain down, and you can see it's very blue, more blue than what we wanted. We ended up, after we rolled it, it was too thick, so we had to take a rag and spread it out, thin it out. So we're gonna try some gray now over it. Hopefully it'll give it kind of a gray blue instead of all blue, so it won't be quite this blue. If that doesn't work, we'll sand it and then put some gray on it, and that should do the trick. But we're gonna get started on putting the gray on. So we are having all kinds of issues with finishing this floor. First we put the stain on and it was more blue than what we wanted, so we went over it with a gray. Got an awesome gray weathered look that we really liked. Then I cleared it, and I don't know if it was the clear I used or the roller I used or what. I've rolled on clear on a floor before with no issues, but for whatever reason, it may have been the humidity. This one, instead of going on clear, went on white. So we have white freckles all over our boards now. I'm gonna have to sand the whole floor, refinish it. It's not fun, but that's what we're doing. Look at that. We finally got it the way we wanted it. Got the clear on, looking good. Got the stain the color we want. I knew it would take a while on this, waiting on the clear and the stain to dry in between coats, but I had no idea that it was going to take a full week. We've been working on laying this floor and staining it for a full week, but after having to stain twice, sand it down, redo it for the clear, clouding up and everything, we finally got it looking like glass, got it looking good, and got it the color we want. So we're going to move on to boxing the fender wells out now so we can start our framing.